So I want to clear up some confusion people are having about the new crafting system that's coming out in New World. So on the PTR, a lot of the values for a lot of the crafting professions have changed. Now, 2 crafting professions got hit really, really hard, but some of the other ones did not get hit as hard as you think. It's a little more complicated than it seems. So for starters, Arcana, Engineering, Weaponsmithing, and Armorsmithing all got nerfed, meaning it's harder to get them up. But Jewelcrafting, Cooking also did. But the reason I say those first 4 first is that Engineering, Arcana, Armoring, and Weaponsmithing, they got nerfed in a different way than Cooking and Jewelcrafting. Cooking and Jewelcrafting got hard nerfed, and the other 4 got kind of nerfed, okay? So I'm going to try my best to explain what is going on, okay? The numbers are a little complicated. So this is a chart, an XP chart from nwdb.info. Now, this is the PTR version. These are the numbers on the PTR. So this column is the total XP you need to get to this point, and then this is the XP you need for the next level. This is what level it is, and how much character XP it gives you. So the main thing we're looking at is the total XP to get to a certain point. So when you get down to the bottom, after the patch comes out, you'll need 6,871,000 XP to hit level 200. Now this was for, I think it was armoring, or no, engineering. This is engineering, okay, for example. This is engineering. Now in this other tab, here is what it used to be. So right now, in the live version of the game, you need 1,881,000 XP to hit level 200. After the patch goes through, that number goes up by, I think it's like 3.5 times or something like that. A lot. It goes up by a lot. But there is a catch, okay? There is a catch to this. A lot of the values for different pieces of gear give more XP now. So, here's a bunch of crazy math to confuse the hell out of you, okay? But before I show you a graph, I'm going to show you a graph, which is much, much, much more simple than this. But the takeaways from this is that at certain intervals, you'll need more XP. The first 50 levels, you need 1.2 times more XP, even with the higher increase, because the first 50 levels, everything you craft before level 50 gives the same XP as before. Once you get to steel, though, so we got to pick steel. Steel gives 1.5 times more XP than it used to. So when you get to steel, suddenly, it's actually more efficient, because at level 50, you only need 1.2 times more XP than we used to need, compared, you know, like old patch versus PTR. So when you first hit 50, suddenly steel is really efficient, better than it was on live. But once you get to level 75, once you're like at 75, now suddenly, compared to the live servers, you need 1.6 times more XP to hit the next level. But steel only gives 1.5, so you're already actually less efficient. By the time you hit 100, now you're dramatically less efficient than the live servers, and it's costing you a lot more to level up. And then suddenly you unlock Star Metal. And Star Metal gives 2.24 times more XP than the live servers. So suddenly you're like, wow, I'm leveling fast again compared to how I used to level. But by level 125, you're already leveling slower than the live servers. And by level 150, you're leveling significantly slower than live servers. And so the way this averages out is roughly you'll need 1.15 times more XP to get to max level. But it's a little more complicated than that, because now you can't use cheap strategies in order to do it, like weak honing stones for weaponsmithing, for example, because the smaller ones, the lower level ones, don't scale as well. So there were a lot of like hinges in these professions where you could level with a lower level thing and be more efficient than going to the end game thing like orichalcum or something. So all those strategies to cut corners are gone. So on top of needing 1.15 times more experience, you'll also probably be spending more on average because you have to use higher level mats no matter what, or else you're terribly inefficient. Now let me show you a graph of this instead, okay? So this was the graph for engineering. Now, before you jump to any conclusions, this is about the same for weaponsmithing and armorsmithing and arcana. But jewelcrafting and cooking are totally different. And we'll get to jewelcrafting and cooking in just a minute. So looking at this graph, okay, the way that this works and what I'm trying to explain in this complicated graph is, here's the efficiency, right? The red line is how efficient we were on the live servers. And then this black line is how does the PTR's efficiency compare to what the game already has right now. What you guys are grinding with is this red bar. We're comparing it to the red bar. We're showing how much we deviate from the red bar. So right here this is crap. This is worse than the live servers. You're spending more money in order to level up. You're spending 20% more, you're spending 10% more, that kind of thing. The bottom one is, wow, it actually costs less materials when we're down below this red line. If you're down here, you're actually spending less than on the live servers. So the way this graph works is the first 50 levels, you are 20% less efficient, and there's nothing you can do about it after the changes. But once you hit level 50, you unlock steel, and suddenly, bam, you go straight down to being efficient. Now, you are, I think it was about 24% more efficient than the live servers. But there's kind of an exponential curve here where very rapidly, as you level up, you're level 55, you're level 60, you're level 65, and by the time you're somewhere in the 60s, suddenly you're as efficient as the servers again. Then all the way from level, say, 60, all the way to level 100, you are between 0% less efficient, and I think for this bracket, it was 15% less efficient. So even though you get this little boost right here, this right here averages it out to where you're actually less efficient. This whole section right here, you are slightly less efficient than the original. So you are actually less efficient. Even though you get this boost, you're actually not. You're coming out with a net negative by the end of the curve. Okay. Same thing happens here. Same thing happens here. So like the same thing right here. You unlock star metal. Here's star metal. Bam. Now you're more efficient. Very rapidly though you lose it. And by level 125, you're already 3% less efficient than live. And by 150, you're 12% or 11% less efficient than live. I think it was 12%. And then same thing with orichalcum. You unlock orichalcum and bam, you're 28% more efficient. But at the end, level 199, you are now, I think it was 12% less efficient again. And the final total average is that you'll need 1.15 times more total XP in order to get to the end level. But also you have to remember that you are going to be using, on average, more expensive materials, and you can't cut corners anymore with any little tips or tricks of, oh, I can craft weak honing stones instead of metals, or I can craft I don't know if bullets have always been the same, but I can't craft gunpowder now to level up. These little corners you could cut by doing cheaper things when you could get the mats, and you can't do any of those right now. So even though it's 1.15, I would say it's probably more effectively like 1.3 to 1.4 times, maybe 1.5 times less efficient because of the increased cost of always having to buy the highest level material. But that only applies to 4 trade skills, and that would be weaponsmithing, armoring, engineering, and arcana. Now, furnishing is untouched by this patch. In case you guys were curious, furnishing did not change at all. But cooking and jewel crafting, they are a very, very different story. Let's start with jewel crafting though, because they're both different in their own different ways. So, jewel crafting. The thing that happened with jewel crafting is, let me pop up that XP graph. So here are the numbers for the live server right now. Right now, you need 1,881,425 XP to hit 200 jewel crafting. But on the PTR, you need 3,725,850. This number is 1.98 times more XP to hit max level. So basically, twice as much experience to hit 200 jewel crafting. But there's a serious catch with jewel crafting. The thing about jewel crafting is that on the PTR, every single jewel crafting recipe gives the exact same amount of experience as it did before. So you are not going to level anything any faster at any part of jewel crafting. But just to show you, here's that same graph from before. And you can see right here that it is exactly 200% more expensive, well, 198% more expensive just straight through the entire way. There's absolutely no benefit at all. So jewel crafting is a profession that you are going to want to level right now as fast as you can get it done. I don't know when this patch is going to come out, but you want jewel crafting up right now, or you are going to regret it big time later. Jewel crafting is already one of the most expensive professions to level, and it's only going to get twice as expensive after this patch goes live. Also, that graph didn't quite make sense. By 200%, I meant minus 100%. I don't know. I screwed the graph up, but you guys get the point. It's twice as expensive. Okay, those numbers didn't make sense compared to the last one. But that leaves us with one more profession, and that's cooking. If you guys haven't got your cooking up yet, you may want to consider doing it now. So the thing with cooking is that cooking takes, I think, 70% more XP to hit max level. And they're nerfing all the XP gains from every single food item that you can make. So the fastest way to level 4 is make level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 basic foods, like the light meals and stuff. But now all those give varying amounts of XP. The first one gives the same, but the second one gives 2.4 times less. Third one gives half as much. Fourth one gives like 80% less, and then the last one gives like 15% less or something like that. And so when you combine that with the actual amount, you get a graph like this. I didn't scale it correctly. So you start off with the first one, and you're around 70% more efficient, and then it's going to become less and less efficient until it peaks at, I think, like 140% less efficient or something like that. 160% less efficient, maybe. Then as soon as you hit 100, you unlock the next meal, and then bam, suddenly you are back down to like 140% efficiency right here. 140%. Then you go to here and you unlock Hearty Meal, and that brings you down to, I think, around 85-90% less efficient than the old system. So basically, overall, you're going to average paying a little over twice as much to level up cooking. So if you haven't leveled cooking already, you may want to consider leveling cooking right now. So that's cooking. So the main priorities here are level up Jewelcrafting before the patch, level up cooking before the patch, and if possible, level the other ones. But if you could only pick two, you're going to want to level your Jewelcrafting, and you're going to want to level your cooking. Those are the highest priority right now with how the changes are going to go down. If you're worried about furnishing, I would put it off till after the patch because it's identical on the patch. I would spend your money on other crafting professions. But there you have it. There are the real numbers. In case there was some confusion, I know there was confusion because I read a bunch of the comments. So now you know what's going on with the numbers. That is a much more accurate representation of what's actually happening. So it's not complete panic. Well, for Jewelcrafting cooking it is. So I wouldn't completely panic over it, but I would definitely try to level up whatever crafting you want to level up now, because all of them are less efficient. It's just that Jewelcrafting and cooking are significantly less efficient. But the other ones are also worse now. So that's what's going on. Also consider subscribing to this channel because I post New World news, New World guides, New World videos like this multiple times a day usually. So if that sounds interesting to you, be sure to subscribe. But that's it for this video. Now you know the math, now you know the numbers, now you know what's actually happening with the crafting system in New World.